I am June Raihl. Been a member of St. Paul's since about 2008, I think it was. Well, I went to Sunday school when I was a young kid. My grandparents raised me, and Grandma would always tie my change in the corner of the hanky, and that was my offering. And I went to Sunday school and got confirmed in the Lutheran church. And when Grandma died, I went to a children's home, and I was there for about 6 years. We went to church Sunday morning and Sunday evening, and I sang in the choir there. At the home, we had devotions every day in the afternoon before dinner. Sunday, people would come from different churches and hold a service for us. And so we had preaching all day long. And we used to memorize verses from the Bible, and the matron would call us randomly to recite the verse that we had learned that day. So I left there, and then I was going to church at the church that I grew up in. Well, then I got to the point, well, I don't have to go to choir, I don't have to do this, so I just quit going. Then I met David and started going to the church that he belonged to. We were going there, and little town of Wimmelsdorf, and we got married, snotty kids of 19, and we didn't have a big wedding because he stuttered at the time, and we didn't have money, you didn't have credit cards and that kind of stuff, and so we said, it was Armistice Day. We decided on the 11th of November we'd get married because we'd have that holiday. And so we did that. And then about 6 months after we were married, we were with the family, and my sister said, when did David stop stuttering? And we looked at each other, we're not even aware of it. It's like, I don't know. And David always said he should have got married when he was younger. So anyway, then when that, we were planning on not having kids for 5 years. Well, that plan went down the tubes real quick because I was pregnant by December with our first daughter. And then later on we had Lisa, and then after her, then 3 years later we had Ted. So those are our 3 kids, and now we have 3 grandchildren, 2 Chinese girls, so we're an international family. And then Harrison was born the same year that Sarah was adopted. After we had the kids, Dina was already in college, and the company moved us out to Independence, Kansas, and still wasn't going to church because of things that had happened within the churches. I just felt, and David too, it's like, who needs church? People are always fighting with themselves, and they have their issues too, so we don't need to be in that. And so anyway, we weren't going to church, and then Alaska was always in our hearts when we were in Pennsylvania already, that the company was hoping to build the pipeline, and we wanted to go up there. They recruited people. They came in, and David said, I'm going to go to the meeting. And he did go to the meeting, and he decided he was going to volunteer to go. And I said, I'm all for it. So next thing we know, we're being flown up to Alaska and into Valdez, and David's working on the pipeline and still not going to church. And a friend of ours was talking with me, and Lisa had started to go to church, and she said, Mom, you'd really like this church. And it was, I said, Okay, I said, I'll go with you on Sunday. So we went to that church. Well, they had a big issue too. That church just split apart because of what the pastor had done there. And so, okay, here we go again. I'm not going to church anymore. I'm tired of this. And it was about 6 years. And all my friends were saying, you need to get back to church. And it's like, I don't want to hear it. Stop talking about it. Then my good friend, we were working on a project for AFS at the time. And when she left that evening, she went out the door, but she turned around and she yelled at me. And she said, I'm going to pick you up for church tomorrow. It's like, she closed the door, and already I'm scheming to get sick or do something so I don't have to go to church. But I knew, well, she'll be bugging me Monday morning anyway. So I went to church, and the song was, come home, and I went forward. It was a Baptist church, and joined the church. And then David he went there too, and he got baptized. And young teenage kids that were friends of our son came and to see David being baptized. So that was quite a deal. But God had started to pull the rope in on me. I was not a very good person at that time. My language was horrible, and I had a horrible temper. And if there was an argument, I got to win the argument, even if I was wrong. And so anyway, I had a lot of deep issues with people in my past, and God pulled the rope in, and with my prayer life, he made me go back and forgive all these people. In time, he would bring someone into my life that from the past, and I knew it was time to go through that routine of forgiving, and I did. And so when I went into this meeting at the church that night, I asked God where I should sit. And the pastor, knowing my background, was upset, and he came, are you okay? And I said, I'm right where God wants me to be. And I looked around and I saw the people, and I could see the anger. And it's like, I know where you are. So they were voting to get rid of the pastor, and they won their little game, and he left. But I still stuck with the church. David and I both said, well, we're still going to go. Well, then we left there. We went over to Anchorage. David took, after 10 years of living in Valdez, we went on to Anchorage, where David took a daytime job and didn't have to do the 3 shifts anymore. And we joined the church there in Anchorage. And then retirement came, and we come down to Joplin, Missouri, and we were going through an issue for 17 years with the IRS, and that was a journey with God in itself. That's a whole new story that I can just fill you up every Sunday with a story. So, 2008, David had been diagnosed with prostate cancer, so we weren't going to church at that time. And we were members of another church, but this little voice was always telling me, we need to try St. Paul's, and David and I would discuss this, but we didn't do it. And then when he was all through his treatments, David said, we need to get back into church. And I said, well, let's try St. Paul's. I said, we've always talked about going there. I said, let's go see what they're all about. And so we did, and it was in May when we went there on Mother's Day. And the kids were handing out flower seeds, and I was looking for Shasta daisies for flower seeds, and I couldn't find them. Well, the kids come and they give me my package, and I look, and it's like, Shasta daisies. And I showed it to David, and he said, well, I guess we're where we're supposed to be. And that's what started our journey with St. Paul's. With time in Sunday school, some of the guys from Ascent were attending, and one of them asked us to join the Ascent group. And that's how we got involved with the Ascent guys, and just been there for them. David was really good with them, and he used to pull a lot of tricky pranks during the meetings that the guys would laugh, and it's like I had to nudge him to stop him. And we had a lot of fun in that class too. It wasn't all, serious. We had a lot of fun as well. David and I had a broken heart then with one of the guys that we were close working with at the time. And he went his merry way and got himself into trouble, and it just broke our heart to see what had happened. He had come so far, and then just kind of threw it all away. But now he's back in, and Teddy told me that he just graduated, so that just thrilled me, and I know David would have been tickled pink to hear it. So, and David really missed not being in church, and I too, and he cried because he really missed not being with the Ascent group. He really, that was in his heart. Not that it isn't in mine, but it really was in his heart too. Whatever jobs that we could do, we signed up for and went, and we really enjoyed doing that very much. And then when it got to be where we couldn't do some of those things anymore, so we started handing out T-shirts. So every year I'd remind Nancy, sign us up for T-shirts. So it was a lot of fun, because that way we could meet everybody that was coming in there to work, and that was gave us it was a great blessing for us to be able to do that. And then, like I said, Ascent and circles, and then it turned into building bridges and other things that whatever they were asking for volunteers, I can't remember them all. Time goes on and you forget what you used to do, but God remembers it. So one of the things that David and I really like about St. Paul's, it's not just, we care about all the people in the church, but it's always expressed to be involved in the community, to volunteer and help out in the community. And we did some of those things with water gardens that we had gone to help with the meal a couple of times, things like that, where you're out there meeting other people. And that's the big thing that we've thoroughly enjoyed about St. Paul's, is that the mission is out in the field, and that's where St. Paul's is. With all when you volunteer, you're out in the community and you're carrying God's message along with you, and you need to share that message. I always feel welcome. It's always a wonderful feeling. I've never experienced that in other churches like we do here at St. Paul's. It's been a blessing to make friends here. Our Sunday school class, David and I really enjoy that class tremendously, because we can share so many things, and we've been all through the thick and the thin, the good times, the bad times. We've always been united in that, and made terrific friends through that class. And other situations that we've gotten to know the staff because of our volunteering and being there. So yeah, it's been wonderful. It's been wonderful to be a part of this church. And I really miss that I can't go the way I want to right now, but because of health issues, it's not a good idea for me, and I miss it. But the blessing is it's on TV, and that experience, I wasn't too happy being at home to watch it on TV. And so one week when I did go, it was such a blessing to be in the church family and to be a part of that singing. Being in my generation, we're old timers with the hymns, and we were complaining, well, they aren't doing the hymns anymore, and I wasn't too happy with the music. But when I had that experience, my whole attitude has changed. It's like I was wrapped up in what was going on in the church, and I could feel the Spirit. The Lord's Spirit was in that church that Sunday morning. I could feel it. And it was wonderful to have that. I don't like the situation that I'm in. I've been diagnosed with leukemia and was up in the hospital in St. Louis for several weeks getting pumped with blood and platelets just to keep me going. And then I was at skilled nursing at Wildwood, where I was treated very well. And one day I sat in my room complaining to God, I don't like this place. I don't like being in this room. I don't like this and I don't like that. And then, okay, you're done with the negative. Let's go to what do you like? And it's like, yes, Lord, I am grateful. I'm grateful I have a roof on my head. I have a bed to sleep in. They take care of my meds. I get food every day. I'm not lacking in anything in that capacity. And it's like people around the world would give their eye tooth to have half of that. So I have a lot to be grateful for. And so, okay, Lord, whatever you want me to do, I'll do. And that's the way it was. And I was blessed to have a Christian lady to share the room with, and we had our meals in the same room because we didn't go wandering around because of the COVID, and did my physical therapy and worked hard in that. And people from church were wonderful to come and visit with me, and Bratton came, he visited with me. And that meant a great deal to me to be able to have that companionship to come and see me, that they thought enough of to come and see me, and shared with my roommate as well. She enjoyed it as well. So I was really blessed to have her in my life. My prayer life is in a journal. When I have issues and things aren't going right, I complain to God, I yell out to God, and then other times when I go through my griping and complaining, and then I read the scripture, then God turns it all back on me, well, what are you gonna do? And that changes my whole perspective and my whole attitude on things. And because of that prayer life that I had of forgiving everybody, that led me into a real intimate relationship with God, one that I never, ever had before. I count on Him to help me through the day, and that led me to the prayer life for the people at church. When the prayer list would come out, I prayed for those people because that's very important. Prayer is very important. It's not just a bunch of potatoes that you're talking about. This is very important with God, and this is what He wants us to do, and that's the relationship with Him. And yeah, I did write notes. I never signed them. But this was led by God. He would help me. And I more or less wrote out the prayer in a lot of ways to these people for their healing or whatever they were going through. And I don't do the cards anymore. That's because of situations. I got away from that. but I still pray for the people on the prayer list. And that's a very close time with the Lord. And I'm not ashamed to say that there's times when I even cry for so many people, and the chaos that's in the world today, it just breaks my heart, and I sit and I cry with God to bring healing to our country and to the people of Ukraine and people on the prayer list. Everybody is struggling in this world, but we have God. He is our hope, and what keeps me in perspective is I'm always reminded of how he was the Lord himself when he walked on this earth, when Jesus walked here, and they spit on him, they tore his robe off, they crushed that crown into his scalp, and the sword in his side, and it's nailed his hands. It's like, I can't imagine the pain that he went through. And it's like, I'll never, ever, none of us will ever go through that, what he went through. Never. Yes, it hurts. We're in deep pain. We struggle. But God is always there for us, and he's always the hope that we have. And we'll never suffer the pain that the Lord did for us, because he loved us, and he's our way to heaven. And we'll be up there singing and dancing when it's all over. If it wasn't for God, I wouldn't even be here, because as a teenager, I even tried to commit suicide. But he wasn't ready for me yet. So anyway, yeah, God is in my life, and I don't like when people tell me I'm a strong woman. I am not a strong woman. My strength comes from the Lord. He gives me the strength to do everything that I do. And there's times when I'm in a situation and it's like, okay, Lord, even in my gardening, I'm digging up weeds, and then there's one that's so stubborn I can't get it out. And it's like, okay, Lord, I need your help. Help me get this out. And it comes out. If you don't know that experience, you need to test it, and you need to try it for yourself. I'm just telling you what he does for me. If he does it for me, he's going to do it for anybody. I'm grateful to God. My heart's just full of gratefulness. I can't thank him enough for everything that he's done and will do.